Welcome to the show. Once again, we'd like to welcome Chris.
Thank you for having me once again.
Yeah, last time we had Chris, we had a really good conversation. We talked a lot of war stories. Normally, we would follow that right up with another episode, but yeah, we just couldn't pull it off that night. So here we go. Yeah, Chris, tell me something good about yourself. Tell me something good about today.
About today?
Yeah.
Today is a lot of appreciation of little things. Waking up, not being sick, being able to go to work, being able to be there for people, support a house, run a house, do all the things that you're supposed to do as you get older, I guess, right?
Yeah, I guess, right?
You know what I mean? That's what they tell us. That's what we're supposed to do. I mean,
yeah.
I think I've been, I don't like to give myself credit all the time, but, you take one day at a time. That's one thing I took away from getting clean is one day at a time.
Do you go to meetings anymore?
No, I haven't been to a meeting in a long time. My relationship with
the room
I used to go to, I'll say the fellowship, I'll say that I used to go to is, in the beginning it was good. I'm not gonna lie. I was doing the meetings. I had a home group. I had a sponsor. I was.
How long were you active in? We're talking NA now, right?
Yeah, probably the first year to year and a half.
Very supportive.
Yeah, and
yeah. What do they say? A perfect program with imperfect people.
Yeah, and I don't like to down talk anything, but it's just for me it wasn't where I wanted to be.
Right, but you utilized the benefit of it in the beginning.
Correct, and there's a part of me that feels bad because they say you're supposed to give it back and
right,
to keep it. And for me, I don't know. I think everyone's different.
Right.
And some people need that
to continually
for the rest of their life.
Right.
And you and I know people that need that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Need to go to meetings. Need to, And for me, it just wasn't what I wanted to do. And it kind of got, I want to say judgmental in a way. Like, God forbid you miss a meeting.
Right.
You know what I mean? Especially if it's your home group.
Yeah. You better be in the hospital.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And like I said, I don't like to bad talk anything, but just for me, it wasn't what I.
But did you take tools from NA?
I did.
I know. I took a lot of things from.
I was always quiet when I was younger. You know what I took from NA? Being able to talk and being able to feel comfortable with hearing the sound of my own voice.
Right.
That's a big thing.
It is.
When I was younger, I never verbalized anything really.
Right. And I learned to listen, Chris.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I just talked endlessly.
Yeah.
And when I went to the rooms, I really learned to listen, and it helped me a lot. It really did.
Absolutely.
So, but now, no meetings. No medication either, right?
No medication.
All right. So how
Motrin here and there for pain.
Right. But I'm talking about
no other long-term medication or anything like that.
I'm on a little handful of meds, dude, to keep me, my bipolar.
Right, that's we were talking about that before, the difference between addiction and mental health.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Some people have both.
Yeah, and you see people genetically that are just predisposed.
Yes.
You can see apples under apple trees.
Correct.
So we had a little incident earlier. And it just goes to show you that there is a division between being clean and, being sober and being stuck with a mental illness. And a lot of times when you see the paperwork and all and you read the articles, it's almost like a symptom. You know what I mean? If you're an addict, you're definitely going to have anxiety and you're going to have all these other things. And then they flip the coin and say, well, if you have a mental illness, it can lead to addiction.
Right.
So they kind of play on each other.
Correct.
And you said it earlier. I'm not sure if that's fair. They're completely two different beasts.
Right.
It's
Some
like being
people, yeah,
it's
some
like,
people get misdiagnosed too, or not diagnosed at all
exactly.
with a mental illness. They just think they're an addict. They just think they want to get high, and that's another issue along all by itself.
Right. So sometimes you don't even know you have an issue until,
No.
wow, Chris, I had a little epiphany there. I really got to look when I started going to NA with Big Mike and stuff. And my mom's death, my mom, probably was right after my mom's death. Right after that, because I fell apart. And NA kind of really helped me because I was trying to hang out with people that I didn't.
I'm forever grateful to NA.
But I didn't like them, grateful. Chris.
But it got to a point to where, like I said,
I didn't know. I mean, I didn't like the people I was getting high with.
Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, the people I was getting high with were, they were dead. So once I got clean, it was. I mean, I still had buddies that I went to high school with, but it was a weird dynamic after I got out of rehab because. Even when before it was, they didn't want to be around me because of all the drugs I was doing. And then after I got clean, they didn't want to be around me because they didn't know how drinking and doing drugs in front of me would make me feel.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you get that weird dynamic when you first get home. It's like somebody cracks a beer and looks at you or lights a joint and gives you a look. But.
Yeah, well, it's tough. People need to have respect. I mean, it is, but it's a people places thing. Like you're putting yourself as an individual.
If you decide to go where people are going to be smoking and drinking, then all bets are off.
Right.
Like, I made that choice. You know what I mean? But I said, for me, it was as simple as just getting through the withdrawal. That was it for me.
I think back to what you said about keep getting clean and not wanting to be sick, and this is going to sound wrong. Not everyone has that luxury, right? Like, I know when we would do Zip, if you didn't have it, you slept. You know what I mean? Basically. But other than that, and thankfully I only did that for a tiny bit in my life, but that was me people pleasing. Like I was being someone else.
Right.
To be around, people very close to me.
Right.
And it was fun at the time. I don't want to say I wasn't having a good time because I'm such a people person and I'd like to talk and dance. And
I would say any drug that's physically addicting, if you're an addict, you will do some things for those drugs. Like, no matter what it is, like if you're, at least for me, it was manipulating, lying, stealing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Doing what I had to do.
Right.
But like I said, afterwards, after I got through the sickness out of me and the withdrawal feelings and everything out of me, I was like, okay.
All right, so take me back to when you're done with NA.
All right.
Chris, you're never going to... Because Chris just quit smoking tobacco. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because when we're talking about it, it's almost like Chris is like, I'm done with that effing stuff. Yeah. And you know what I mean? And I think in a way, it's almost probably like the same mentality you had.
Yeah. Like I said, it started getting real clicky. Like you start noticing certain cliques and a lot of the same stories and.
So take me after NA.
So after NA, it was.
But you're on your own. You're a one-man band. Did you keep in touch with anyone from the fellowship?
I did not.
Okay, it's tough.
It's tough because, like I said, if you're not going to meetings,
you're excluded. Yeah. I don't mean that. The program is great, but the people in it feel that you fall off the wagon and you've let down the whole.
Right. Like
you've let down the whole step procedure.
And they go by off stats because
more
than I don't know the stats, but I'm sure a lot of times people stop going to meetings, they end up using again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But like I said, everybody's different.
It's true.
But I don't know if I'm going to be using 10 years from now, 5 years from now. You don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I said. The golden rule I took away from NA was one day at a time.
Yeah.
You know
well, Matt's we get back to what I love to talk about, like starting a day and like how you're grateful. And reflection can be damaging to us that have a mental illness to reflect on, let's say, not getting out of bed all day. Or driving your family members or your spouse nuts because you can't start stop talking about a conspiracy theory or the drones. Like the drone thing, the conversation around here was a little nuts for a while.
Right.
And I've
seen a lot of mental illness. Like a lot of people, that aren't with us anymore. People I went to school with and I knew aren't, and they had mental illness. But I never suffered from that. I always try to be like sympathetic or empathetic, I guess is the word, to the situation. That's why it's never like, I don't care how somebody's acting. If they're acting wrong and you can see that, then you got to figure out what's wrong. Like, it was always like, a lot of people made fun of and laughed at, you know what I mean?
Right.
I was never that way. But mental health is different, man. Like, you got to get that stuff diagnosed early and get a plan. That's what I try to explain to people. If you have a mental health problem, then you got to do what you got to do to try and get a balance.
Right.
Especially when it comes to, like, chemically in your brain. Like,
well, it's funny because tomorrow Bubby's supposed to come on, and it's really kind of cool because I had a really bad depressive episode the other day, and I didn't even realize it, Chris. And she's like, the following morning, it's cool because she was like she was like a lot of us where she couldn't speak her mind.
Right.
And that's kind of changed. Thank God, because like she said, that's the worst. That's the one I don't like dealing with. And I always say my manic side I love. I love dancing with my grandkids. You see me, we run around like nuts trying to wear them out. That to me,
it's the other side, the shutdown side.
Man, and I don't even realize it. Yeah. Like, I left my buddy's house and I text her every time I leave. We text each other on our way home. Dude, I come home. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You didn't text me. You didn't," and I didn't even realize it, Chris. And I was kind of hyper focused on getting ready for a vacation I have coming up, but
that's where it sneaks in.
I didn't even notice
that's where it sneaks in.
And
you know what I mean?
And I think that's because my medication works. That I'm depressed, but I don't realize it. See, sometimes when we realize it, we make it worse.
See, I don't buy the rhetoric that all medication's bad.
Right. But let's get back to the reflection part, right? Like, so for me, the next day, to be able to reflect and say, wow, that was really bad, and to not realize it and maybe try to ABC it, like see what was first and then what
led you into that.
Exactly.
What led you not to text her when you were leaving.
And even not text her while I was there. It was a whole thing. It wasn't like it was one thing. There were like three or four things.
She did she know where I am, or does she know like that I would text her, but is she gonna be upset if I don't? Like I could hear the thought process going.
Yeah. You know what I mean? When we get back to you being grateful about the morning, right? We need to do what we need to do to start our day right. For me, it's take a handful of pills. It sucks, but I know the only way I can regulate my bipolar is to be medicated, and it really sucks. But I was speaking with my aunt last night, and it's cool because she'll ask you questions straight out. Like, she really doesn't have a filter, which is super, super cool. And she would say, "How long did it take?" We were talking about another family member. And she was like, "How long did it take you?" And I said, "Well, it took me 15 years, like, of playing with different, not playing, but of going to doctors and trying this and trying that. And so it took me like 15 years to find a spot where I feel good and still can feel my bipolar. It's not, I'm not drugged up.
Yeah, it's not gone.
And
it's always there. Yeah.
We talked about the befores and the manic episodes.
But also gratitude of recognizing it, which I think is a big thing.
So I should pull out my notes because on my pause interrupt, my big thing, Chris, is to stop myself, to learn. One thing I learned, how to stop myself.
Recognizing what you did is, that's a big step in itself, because you can have somebody else tell you what you did that they think might be wrong, but if you just say, okay, I'll fix it, or I'll work on it, and then you just move on.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking to myself or to yourself, why did I do that? Or why didn't I do that? Like, but not a lot of people want to deal with that.
Right.
That's where the gratitude comes in, of recognizing it and knowing that you can fix it now without, ruining your life or changing your whole life.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
Exactly. So, I recognize more, Chris, that I can't fix people until I really fix myself. And in a way, is it my job to fix people? I think like that pause and the gratitude to know that, hey, the Lord has kind of let me have this good day. I try to be like REM says, the shiny happy person that everybody feels the raise, but that doesn't happen.
I mean, you got to be careful with gratitude too, because are you seeking gratitude for the right reason?
For a reason, right?
You know what I mean? Because you can want to save somebody, but what's your real reason behind wanting to save that person?
Chris, I think that's why I love doing what I do. I work with individuals with special needs.
Do you want to save that person either for a financial or a selfish, feel good about yourself reason, or you want to help that person because they need the help?
That's it.
You know what I mean?
It is.
And you get nothing out of it. If you tell us yourself in your head that I'm doing this to get nothing back for it, you found your career.
That's me.
Basically.
It is. And it's because I work in a field where no one's going to say thank you without being told. Right. No one's really going to be able to do anything back for you that you do for them. And it's the greatest thing. And you kind of got to play that into real life.
Yeah.
Right? Not just my career. Like, do it for the right reason, right? Like you just said, if you're
doing the right thing, that's another quote.
Hit it.
Do the next right thing for the next right reason.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
All right.
That's certain things I followed when I left NA too. There's certain quotes there.
Right. Do you meditate?
I don't.
So Chris works nights. Like I like to ask people their morning routine.
Yeah, my morning routine is I'm in bed by 8 o'clock in the morning and sleep.
Yeah, you're completely flipped.
Yeah, so my routine is tomorrow night around 6:30 p.m., 7 o'clock, I go to sleep, take a little nap, wake up, leave the house 9:30. I'm at work by 10 p.m., leave work at 6:30. I'm home, depending on traffic, anywhere between 7 and 8. And then I go to sleep, and then it's
right. But you're not like, so you say you take out a little power nap.
Yeah.
Most days, so that's kind of your way of.
I've been able to do this long enough to where I can split my sleep.
That's crazy, dude. I don't know if that's healthy. Like
it's probably not.
Yeah, they say like working nights forever is really not good for you.
I've been currently looking to see if it's the best choice for me to keep working there, but pays the bills for the time.
Yeah. How long have you worked nights?
December 28th was 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess I would say used to it. If you're not used to it by now, I don't know if you ever will get used to it.
I don't know if you ever get used to working in a freezer, but
no,
like I said, it pays the bills.
It does, but that's a heck of a.
And I had fears about going back when I first got clean, because that first year I was with the company I'm with, I was using that whole time.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was using at the job.
Wow.
So, but also I kind of felt like a sense of loyalty to the place. It was like, oh, well, they did afford me the opportunity to go to rehab.
Yeah, cool. I mean, that's true.
Insurance-wise,
right? They probably could have cut you loose.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So, in a way, and I'm comfortable right now because my situation is a lot different than a lot of other people my age. Like I said, I don't have kids.
Right.
I pay for myself and my house. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
my situation is a lot different. I don't have the stress of having kids, and that's a big thing, dude.
I'm looking at the one note I wrote for you, right? And it has to be changed. It says road to recovery, right?
Right.
And the two needs to be crossed out, and it's a road of recovery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like you hit it. You don't know what you'll be doing in 5 years. You know what I mean? Like, so if you
Just gotta
made
keep
it
walking, dude.
right,
You know what I
so
mean?
you never make it to
No,
recovery.
I never say like. There's never a point to where like, do I know 5 years from now if I see a pill might be a good idea? It might be at the time. I'll deal with that then if it ever comes. You know
Right.
what I mean? But if I focus on that and you think about stuff like that, then you're going to do it. So I just don't think about it. If the situation arises, I'll see what happens when that situation arises.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how I focus a lot of my life. I can't look too far back and too far forward. I got to stay in the now.
Right.
For my own sanity.
Into the action phase.
Yeah, I got to stay right now. You know what I mean? I can't focus too far back, too far forward.
I kid around all the time. I currently am in the action phase of my like midlife crisis where I can't sit around. I still do, and just sit and do nothing for great lengths of time.
Right.
But I feel a little productive. I love my job. I love my grandkids, my wife. You know, so I am blessed. You know, that's one of the first things I do in the morning is count my blessings. Take meds and try to meditate. And sometimes that meditation is with music and sometimes it's not. But I reflect.
Meditation honestly worked.
It's helped me, Chris.
When I first got out of rehab, I told you I was doing the intensive outpatient when I first got out of rehab.
Right.
And she would do a meditating. And we did a meditating thing at rehab too, like in the morning. Like we all gather, they turn the lights off with the music and the raindrops and all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the
whatever sound.
Right.
But it worked, dude, because it kind of gave you like okay, now we can start the day. I just never like looked into it more, but I don't knock it at all.
No,
I've seen it. It works.
and you can find online like they walk you through it.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Step
like
by
these
step.
websites that
just YouTube. Will walk you right through it.
And I found a couple. I made a couple of documents to share with people that were skeptical and stuff like that about, or just were not skeptical, but just didn't think they could do it.
Right.
Well, I guess that's skepticism. But,
right.
And we worked with one individual who has completely surpassed me. You know what I mean? Like I started meditating with her, and
let me ask you a question: have you found it to be easier more in a group setting or by yourself?
Never tried in a group setting.
See,
that's cool. I've never tried that.
I should try that. Setting to me was kind of like, because you don't know like I said, when I was going to IOP, I didn't really know these people. I knew that they were addicts.
Right.
Different ways of life. Never met them before, and that kind of like.
What's the energy like?
The energy's kind of like that you don't know factor, to where like you don't know how you're going to react to it. You don't know how the people are going to be, or the therapist's going to be, if you're going to like it. And then they start with that meditation, and then they turn the lights out, and you're sitting there with a bunch of people you don't know, but it's like there's no sound, and then everyone just goes about talking. Like, it's weird. That's why I asked. I don't know if you ever did it in a group setting.
No, never did it in a group setting. I've had great individual settings. Had horrible ones, too, where I have not been completely able to clear my mind, and it's put me into a manic trying. It's like, don't think about a pink elephant, right? Like, and then
she would tell us, the therapist I had would tell us to focus on a color.
Like, right, but I'm saying, if I tell you not to focus on something, see, our brains, I'm trying to focus on not focusing on thoughts. It just makes more wheels in my head spin. That's actually a very good technique. I would squint and find like a white spot to stare at, but it would always be somewhat white or brighter, where I could close my eyes and still see the brightness.
Yeah, she would say close your eyes and find blue.
That's cool.
That's
cool because it's your mind's eye is what you're trying to.
You're really looking at the back of your eyelids. But
Chris, I had times where, like right now, I got a bead of sweat running down. We got a lot of lights.
Right.
I had times where I was able to itches with my mind. Like, I was so into where I was, grounded on the floor. I had a killer itch on my nose.
I've noticed that before. Like, little things to where, like, especially, I've done that to where, like, there's an itch, like, and you don't want to itch it.
I didn't want to move.
Because it's like, it'll itch more. So I'll sit there and I'll do the same thing. I'll be like, it'll stop.
That's it.
It'll
And
stop
it's really
eventually.
cool because what you're doing is you're allowing your mind to do a physical activity, you know, and it's
Right.
replacing it, and you get into really far off meditation, dude, and they really, really will talk about spending days.
You use different parts of your brain.
Yeah. You have to. It has to affect.
Right.
It has to affect. All right, Chris, give me some advice for somebody just coming out of rehab. And we're not talking no NA promotion. We're not talking about anything. We're talking about your own personal advice because you're experienced on this road.
Right. So my advice would be to go the meeting route when you first get out, because you're going to be around people that are like you. You're going to be around people that know what you're going through or have gone through what you're going through. Just be mindful of who you surround yourself with, but that's in everything.
True.
And it is very rewarding going to the meetings. Speaking at rehabs was very rewarding, giving back in that way, you know. But it is a commitment. Like, you have to be committed. If you want to stick to that route and do the step work, like step work to me fell short because...
Personally, or you felt that the step work fell short?
No, it was my fault because...
it's difficult. It's deep.
It's like homework. I felt like it was like homework, and I got to write, and I got to do this. And it just was a lot.
But see, sometimes doing the uncomfortable.
Correct. And from what I hear, like I said, I don't knock it. It's very rewarding when you get through all the steps. And you go through it with somebody that you trust. And, you know.
It's really kind of cool if you do go through the step work. You're going to have a year and a half clean because you are not going to do...
That's what I'm saying. So it takes a certain amount of dedication. Like I said, for me, it was different. For me, once I had gotten to the point to where the withdrawal was gone and I knew I could live relatively pain-free without taking a Percocet every day, that unlocked something in my brain.
Gotcha.
It was really to the simplest point of I don't want to go through withdrawal again.
Right. Now,
I'm not like everybody. Not everyone can do that to where it's just like, oh, the withdrawal's gone. Like, I'm good. Like I said, mental health is a different animal, but I think you have to be diagnosed something properly and medicated properly. But if you have, like I said, if you have both, it's hard, man. It's a slippery slope. But I would say, go back to your question, my simple advice is to go to the meetings, find people you like to be around, find someone you like, you know. For me, it was find someone you would like to talk to if you want to be your sponsor. Now, other people go other routes and find somebody you don't like to be your sponsor because he's the one or she's the one that'll really give you a swift kick in the ass.
Land in.
Right. So everybody's different, like I said. But for me, just being available for the people that I know that depend on me and that I depend on, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's what keeps me from not going back to that. It's not worth it.
All right, cool, Chris. I like this talk on the road on recovery. Recovery.
Road of recovery.
Road of recovery. I didn't write it down. Because
I think it's a never-ending road.
It is,
in my opinion.
So it's just like taking care of your mental health and your your health, your well-being. It's work every day. I know being bipolar that my mental illness requires, if I want to leave it to chance, a little bit of work. But if I want to be guaranteed from Monday to Friday, I do not have structure on the weekends. Monday to Friday, if I don't prepare Sunday night and lay out till 9 o'clock in the morning, I can get overwhelmed Monday morning. So being able to look back and reflect and say, look, a couple Mondays ago, you got off to a bad start.
It goes back to you being able to recognize that.
Exactly.
That is the key.
there's really only one person that's in control of it for the most part, right? If you have all kinds of stress and all kinds of stuff coming down, my tricks might not work for you to make it to noon. You know what I mean? It might not.
What's good for me? What's good for me could kill you.
Exactly, right? I mean? So, but what works for me is a personalized routine. Right. And we're going to do an episode coming up on like a first aid kit that we have for our mental health. Yeah. Kate and I are going to do. I think we were planning on doing it tomorrow, but it's going to be really cool because we all have this first aid kit. Right. We use it in different ways, and I want to. No, I'm not going to do it because she'll kill me. No, I want to just say your story is personalized, but please take parts of it. Please take parts of what Chris does. Take all of it. Take his advice and do what you have to do to have a successful day.
Find something that works for you, man.
And that's it. Don't listen to I don't want to say don't listen to anyone else.
It doesn't have to be just drugs or alcohol either. Mm-hmm. Anything that makes your life unmanageable. If you go by that, like, okay, I gamble too much or I do this too much. If it makes your life unmanageable, then that's when you got to do something to either fix it or give into it. It's whatever road you want to take.
I like that.
You know what I mean? Give into being a degenerate gambler or do what you got to do to fix it.
And that's an action step.
Yeah.
We're all in these action phases. Yeah. And talk is cheap, but we love to talk. And
absolutely.
We ask that you please help somebody. You know what I mean? Don't judge. Try not to judge someone when they're going through it.
Just listen. Yep. Listening can save somebody's life.
That is a fact. Well, we thank you for listening. Hit the subscribe button. We're going live Sunday night. So if you're watching this in the next 24 hours,
I'll be at work.
Chris will be working. But we'll be live. We love you.
Love you guys.
Thanks for watching.